Hi, this is Terry Lee, and this is video 3 in our manila folder envelope stack. And I've been calling it Victoria envelope stack because we're using Winter and Victoria to differentiate it from the first one I did, even though we're using the same kit. And I want to talk to you about, hopefully you have your envelopes done. Remember, they're going to be glued shut at this point, and so we're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to be able to glue our stack together on this side. I wanted to talk to you about this envelope. When I used the die, I used one size smaller because the other one I had was one size too big, and what happened was when I went to put it on, there was still just a smidge showing of the white around. So what I did was I just, the glue that glues the cellophane to the envelope is way over here. So you have a little bit of wiggle room, and I just kind of tore it off a little bit all the way around, and then that way you don't see it. If you have the rounded corners, you can do that as well. You can just kind of tear them back a little bit and then use the square die to cut it out, like I showed you in the previous video on how to do the ones with the CDs. This is exactly the same, it's just a rectangle. Now on this one, since I was using one size smaller, I wanted to talk to you. I forgot to tell you about how to tell on one of these where to put the die to cut it out for the right spot. So what you're going to do, let me get the one that's just like it for the other side. On the envelope, you can see that there's a gap, right? Obviously, and a gap. Now I'm using one size smaller die, so it's actually going to be in a little bit. But what I did was I just measured, not in centimeters, I measured in inches, and it ended up being an inch. So on the paper itself, it's an inch in and an inch up. So on the paper itself, I measured in an inch, and then I actually added a smidge because I remembered at the last minute. So it's 1 1/16. So 1 inch 1/16, and then I made a mark, and then I came up this way 1 inch, and then I made a mark, and where those lines intersect, it's just like on the circle ones where we do the line in the center. Where the lines intersect, then that's where you put the corner of the die, and then just make sure it's straight, and then run it through the machine. So I realized I had forgotten to tell you that. Then, since I always fess up to my mistakes, we're going to cut the long edge on this one. See, we've had to glue it all the way back shut to put it back together. But the cards are going to come out on this side. If you remember on this one, oh, actually on this one I just have the one big card. But anyway, if you can see, I don't know if you can see, but on the inside when you open it to take the card out, you can actually see both sides, the inside of both sides. And so you have to cut a little bitty piece of paper. Let me show you on this one. I haven't opened it yet, but and I'm thinking you probably don't have an envelope that has the curved back like the one I have. But when we do the other side, we'll do the back and the inside paper on camera. I didn't think of it until after I'd already done it. Okay, so your envelope is open. Right? Open. Okay, your envelope is open. And you know that this is the edge that's going to be cut. And you've got your inside paper. Let's pretend like this is the inside paper that's going to go in here, right? And that's going to cover up the window. Now, on this one, if you're not going to add another little pocket, which I think on this one I will, go ahead and add the little pocket like I did on the, not on the cover we're doing, but on the other cover that went right underneath. I added, because we're going to cut this whole thing, so instead of just gluing this back, I went ahead and just glued in between to make two pockets. But if you're not going to do that, you can get by with a little piece like this because it will cover. Now, on this particular envelope, I couldn't do that because you see when you take the when you take the card out, you'll still see this area in the back that isn't cut straight. So I just went ahead on this one and made a whole piece. It was just going to be too much trouble, so I made a whole piece. And that's all well and good. That works good. These are very hard to see where the fold is on this, so you might want to kind of make a light mark. You know, just kind of a guideline so you can see where the fold is on an envelope like this. Now, you don't want to take a big Sharpie and go down there, you know, because you're going to be able to see. And so when you've got this piece here and we cut it open, right, and you go take your card out, then this part will be the nice tan color, and you're going to need something down this side so that when they pull the card out, that both sides of the opening are covered and neither side of them shows the inside. Now, you don't have to do that if it's white. If it's white, then it's fine. It's the side they don't really see that much either, but I usually like to try to be thorough, and I'm going to try to stick this piece inside once I cut it open and see if I can do it. So that's the tip on that. I forgot to show you that part. I just said, oh, go cover your envelopes. We showed you how to do it. And that's me, myself, and I. So those are tips on this type of envelope when you do it. Okay. Also, there was something else I was going to tell you about it. Oh, when you glue it back, you're going to have to glue it back shut. And the easiest way with an envelope like this, or an envelope that's torn, is you want to take your paper. Let me just grab a scrap here. And when you glue your paper, glue your inside paper on and follow the edge of the envelope with your glue. Okay? Even though this is going to be square and stick out over, it's all going to be well and good, because when you flip it over and you go to put your back piece on, you're just going to glue it straight to this piece. And you're going to ignore this crooked A envelope. You see, and then it'll make your nice edge like that. All right. We'll do this one step by step, but I know I had told you to go ahead and do that one. And so just in case you're waiting one video to see what's going to happen, sort of like a soap opera, to see what Terry's going to do next. In the next video, I wanted to make sure to cover that omission. Okay. So now the next thing we want to do, now with these windowed ones, those are going back in the scrap pile, all sorted by size and shape, please. I know. It makes you crazy. All right, so now the one thing I'd like to say is all of these other envelopes, you don't really have to do anything to them. You can just put them together. But with these particular ones, I like to go ahead and cut, because this is so long too. I like to go ahead and cut it before I put it in the stack. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to take my CD cover back out again, but I'm going to save these two pieces. These two pieces are my two inside pieces. I'm nothing if not efficient. I may be forgetful, but I'm efficient. All right, so I'm just going to trim just a sliver off of here. And this is a little hard on your cutter, paper trimmer, but if you Get the titanium blades. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but you may not have seen other videos that I've done. And then after I just told you, I just went ahead and didn't make sure it cut both ways. No, it did. It's just some of it is kind of stuck on there. There we go. Oh, it was where there was a little bit of glue. But if you get the titanium blades, then instead of just the regular blades, you may think, woohoo. Now you see, this is the part I was talking about. Now you can see this. So I'm gonna glue this inside if I can. I'm gonna slide it in here. Let's see if it'll work. I'll have to trim it because of the glue now. Okay, anyway, I will do that. But I don't have to do it on camera. But now you see what I'm talking about. Okay, and then I know this one was going to open up along the long edge. It goes on like this. This is my other envelope for here, but we haven't got to it yet. So remember, this goes on the front, and we have our long opening here. All right, now if you want, you can glue yours back together right here. If all you're going to do is put one card in. If you're going to put in 2 cards, then you're going to want to take your glue. I know I jumped back to this envelope, didn't I? I apologize. Now you want to make sure that you're over, because you want to be able to have a good size card. You don't want it to show when you put the card in. You don't want the top of it. You don't want to have to make the card so small that you see the top. And I forgot to do it on here too, because I totally forgot. The window is up so high, you have to make a card that's long enough. Now, in the first one, mine was not long enough, so I had to go in and glue the bottom so that the card couldn't slide down too far. In this one, I'm just going to make the card big enough. Okay, so you also want to leave enough room at the top. So you'll determine how big of a little card you're going to put in here. I used a scrap and hand made a card out of it. I would recommend, do you see where the window ends right there? I would go over, I would say 1 inch from there, and then glue it there. So if you flip it over, you can see where the window is. And you don't have to glue it all the way back. Just throw a bead of glue in there and winch it together. And now you've made your extra pocket. Okay? All right. So now we want to decide, do you want, so that goes here. We want to decide, do we want to have our card come out the top? Now I'm going to make ornaments out of these again, the circle cutouts. Here's the cutout from this window. I'm going to use it as a card somewhere. I can't use it as a card in here because it will just slide around, even though it would be cute if it matched up, but then it'd be kind of hard to tell it was a card as well. However, I did do it on these. So I've got my centers, my 2 centers from the 2 CDs that we have already covered. This middle goes to this one. This middle goes to this one, because that way when you put it inside, you can line it up. All right. But I did go ahead, since I was waiting on you guys to get done, I did go ahead and take my glitter pens, and I did the silver around the gingerbread cookie, and then I did the reds for all the berries, and I did a little bit of brown on the cinnamon sticks. This time I'm doing them as I go. Instead of having to go back, it took me a couple of hours to go through and color every single bit, because I did every single little berry, every single little everything. Now I did the ho 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 on this, but I forgot to do the berries, but that's okay because I forgot to do the hoe. Hoe! Let's not get there. And the berries on this one, so I'm going to have to do that. But just the ones that I saw right away, I went ahead and did them. So I haven't done the outside of this one yet either. I have glue all over me, just in case you're wondering. I had to put more glue in my bottle, and I had a glue fest. Okay, so do you want your ornament to come out this way, or do you want it to come out this way? I'm going to recommend the top. This way is cute, but this way it's easy to accidentally pull the string and pull it out. So we're going to take it out, and we're going to do the same thing. You can do it with a pair of scissors if you want. You can cover your glue so it doesn't get all thick again. That was why I had to add more, because the glue that was in there got thick, and I didn't have any acetone to water it down or thin it out a little bit. And this is Fabrifix, and I believe Fabri-Tac are the same thing. And you can use 100% acetone to do your nails, and to also, which will really dry your skin out, by the way. And also you can put a little bit in there when this glue starts to thicken, because it keeps getting exposed to the air over and over. You could put a little bit in there and do the old very careful shake, and it will thin it right back down. That's a Terry tip that I learned from someone else that I don't remember who. Now you're going to take a very, very, very small amount. That's the side. This is the top. Well, all right. A very, very, very small amount that apparently, hopefully, was small enough that if I make it a little crooked, no one will notice. This time I'm going to go back and make sure it got it all. When it all slides out, you'll know. Now, yes, these are too skinny for me to save. I don't know, though. These would be pretty cool in my collage. Look how skinny those are. I have a really tiny, junky scrap pile that most of you would probably throw away, but I make a collage at the end of each project out of the scraps. That way, in case the item doesn't stay with me. Now, you may have to reglue a little bit. I know it seems redundant, or whatever. In fact, I just didn't glue this shut to begin with. In fact. You don't want to accidentally glue the top shut again, so be careful. Just run a little glue along the side. Don't go all the way to the end. It'll make your life easier getting your ornament in and out. Okay. So now that one's done. So we can put it back in the stack. And then flip it open. Oops, this is on the outside of the stack. Flip it open and slide this little guy out. Rinse and repeat. There's a lot of rinsing and repeating in these. So you really have to like to do them like I do. I didn't glue this one shut at all, did I? Well, this is actually going to make my life easier. Now I don't have to cut it. I can just not glue it. All right, so I want to glue this side and the bottom. Don't know why I didn't think of that on that one. The CD ones, you can do this. Okay, so I just want to glue this side and the bottom. And then, of course, the fold makes the other. All right, so we've got this one done too. Are you proud of yourselves? You've got 3 envelopes done already. And there are no more envelopes in this stack except the except this one, which flips out this way. And it attaches to this one. Now, this is a way bigger envelope than I used before. I may go look for a smaller one. Or I may just trim this one down and reglue the end shut like I did before on the other one. I'm not real happy with where the window is on it either. You look. Well, it's about in the same spot, I guess. Okay, so this is where we're at. We've done this one. We've done this one. Get in there, you little ornament. This is embroidery floss, in case you're wondering, embroidery thread. Okay, and this is our little envelope that's here. So we've got that. Now, I don't cover these before I put them in. I want to get the stack put together. Now, it's up to you. If you want to try to remember and take each one out and put it back in and decorate it, you can do it that way. So this is the one we're looking at, is this flip out one right here. See, because we've done this and we've done this. Okay, so all we have is this big naked white one, this little naked little one, and those are the only two, and then the flip out that we'll put on after. It does not fold well that way. Okay, so are you ready to stack? The crowd roars, yes. Okay, so let's do it right this time on camera, Terry. So you're going to make sure your stack is the way you want it. Now remember, as you go, you can see it's going to be thicker, so that means that this is going to need a little extra space, but that's the only one, and I just did like this, and that moved my ones that I wanted in the middle or a little bit farther up. So make sure they're where you want them. Okay, and then open it back out. All right, so this is the first one. This is our base. This is the first one. So you just flip it over and glue it. And glue the flap. You know what I mean? Not the envelope, not the base. And make sure you keep it where it is you want it. You know, if you want it in the middle or the top or the bottom or wherever, because the matching CD on this side is at the top. Okay, so then you flip it back. And I'm glad I caught it at this point. I didn't ink it because I needed to cover that little bit right there. So I'm going to ink that, because see, this is going to fold over anyway. But still, and you have to be careful too. Well, I'll go over that when we go. All right, I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to ink this, and then we'll come back and finish that part. Okay, we're back. After I am now all inked up, I decided, I think this time, instead of going green and red, even though it flip-flops, I could do green on this side of the stack and red on this side of the stack. And then when you flip-flop it, it would be green and red. I don't know. I have to think about it. I did make the whole base green. So now we open this and this, then this, and then this. Where's my CD? Oh, I had my base backwards, so now I have to ink it because it was backwards. I inked the side that was going to face the manila folder. No, that can't be right. There's the top. Now I know I had it correctly in there. We saw it. That makes it at the bottom. Ta-da! We're just gonna go right on. And except for me laughing at myself, we're gonna pretend like it didn't happen. Okay, so now give me a laughing moment here. Okay. I have the volume off and I'm watching the election results on Saturday. This is Saturday the 7th, so you'll have to excuse me. All right, so let's gently slide this out of the way. And now we have to glue this one along here. And remember, we want to stay lined up across the bottom. Did you guys have fun inking all that? Hopefully you remembered to ink this before you glued it on, since you're probably watching this one or two all at the same time. Okay, so that's where we want it. I'm just going to slide this one over. I'm afraid to flip it. So we're going to glue this one to the back of the base now. And just glue right over the pre-glued glue. The pre-glued glue. Put the pin back in your glue bottle. Bring this back over. Line it up with the bottom right here. With the bottom. Line this up here. Don't do it so close that your CD won't open and close. Make sure that opens and closes. In fact, I'm going to slide mine over a little bit because I had a little bit of trouble the last time closing this and closing that. Okay. So we've got that. Now we want to glue this one on. And we want it about here. So let's slide it over and glue it on. And remember, we don't want this one at the bottom. I think, yeah, on the other one, I had it just a little bit above center. So we glue this. Now, I'm gluing them on top of each other on the back. Sorry with my voice. The more I talk, the worse it gets with my sinus infection. I bet you guys are tired of hearing about my sinus infection. You know what? I am tired of having my sinus infection. So now that's glued on. Now we have our CD cover, right? And we've cut the top because that's where we're going to put the card in. We're all ready to go with that. So we glue this on. Oops. We hurry up and get the glue off of our table. Now CDs are tricky, so you're going to have to make sure that you've got enough room for it to fold. And remember, you're building up, so every layer that you do is going to have more stuff that it has to fold over. And also remember, you're going to be putting papers on all of this. We're going to make the manila folder a little bit wider than this is. So if it comes out a little bit, you know what I mean, if they're not all perfectly lined up on the side, that's going to be fine. I think I'm even going to leave just a little bit more. I can come back and ink it once everything's dry and in place. And look, we're almost done with this half of our stack. So now we're going to glue all this. And remember, wait a minute. Yes, I trimmed it and then glued it back together. Watch that earlier in the video, which I apparently did not remember. Okay. Now on this, I know I went ahead and inked it to try to cover it up, make it look more like snowflakes or whatever. This one, make sure it lines up at the bottom. Keep it straight and realize you're going to have to bend that out over everything. So my tip is to put lots of glue on it. Use the Fabrifix, so you've got a couple of minutes there to slide it around. And definitely make sure you can close everything and that it's straight and that it's lined up with the bottom. Okay. Apparently I have trouble with the term lining up with the bottom. Okay. Remember, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but these white envelopes are not very expensive. Our base envelope, the 6x9s. So a lot of times they're crooked. The bottom will be crooked. Where they're glued here in the center, you'll notice is a little bit crooked. Now, this is going to be a big pocket, remember, so I went ahead and inked the edge, and in fact, I'm going to go in and ink a little bit more. My paper is going to go all the way to the top, so I'm not going to put a paper inside. If you're planning on cutting it down around this little bit to have your envelope slide in there, or your big giant card slide in there, then by all means do that. I'm making mine where they're even, and then I'm going to cut a thumb hole. So all I did was color where the thumb holes, well, I colored the whole thing crust because you'll see it from the top once, even though it'll be glued. And looks like I didn't trim the envelope quite far enough. I'll have to trim it down just a smidge more. Yeah, that won't hurt anything. I can just glue it back together, or I can just leave it like that. It's even. It isn't that big of a deal. It's even at the bottom. So now you've got the whole half. You got to wait for all this to dry. But now you've got your whole half of the envelope stack glued. Yay! And the crowd roars. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video here, and then we're going to do the other side. Yeah, this is 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep them from 30 to 45 minutes. I try to keep going and get everything done. Okay, so now you have half of your envelope stack done. Well, not really, because we need to do the envelope going this way, but we'll do it when we do this side, because this side doesn't have hardly any envelopes at all. And I'll show you my crazy upside down envelope that I tried to do off camera to see if it would work. We'll let you decide if it worked or not. All right, I'll see you in the next video, and that will be a second for you and a day for me. Bye.